Alrighty, today we are going to make this cauliflower crust pizza. I like to do it this way because the crust is actually crispy. I have tried so many recipes and I'm like, gosh, it's not quite crispy enough. I will say it's going to vary based on your oven, right? So you might need a little bit more, a little bit less. I've preheated my oven to 425 and I am using a round baking dish or pan from Pampered Chef, but I still recommend, my bay is always parchment paper, to put this over here. It just kind of adds to the crispiness for whatever reason, but I'm going to show you what we're using. Super easy. And I'm making it a smaller, like a little pan pizza for myself. And I'm going to show you one of the little tricks. This is the lazy girl's trick to ricing your cauliflower if you don't feel like going through like shredding it or putting it in a food processor. I literally chop them up. Like, you don't have to chop tiny. I chop them up in little florets. I put them in here. Now this is what we call repurposing. This is a corkscrew opener. I use this end to do this too. You can use your rolling pin. I have one, but I do this, and you can do whatever you need to do to make it as ricey as you want. I like to have a little bit of chunks in my cauliflower crust. You may not, and that's okay. So I've already done it. I just wanted to show you. Use anything you want, hammer, whatever. The hammer's really exciting for me. So I'm actually not going to drain it, but I'm going to pour my freshly beaten in here. And again, I like for it to be a little bit, oh, here's a whole chunk. Find chunks, you can snack while you go. Now, I also want to talk to you a little bit about forgiveness today and why forgiveness is always for you. It literally is something that saved my life, quite literally, as well as my mental health. I'm going to take this egg, and we're just going to beat one egg. That is really good. Cauliflower is really good. And I'm doing the whole egg. I'm just going to beat it till, it's pretty well mixed. So you have to understand, one of the biggest things when it comes to forgiveness is you feel as if you forgive someone, you are permissing whatever it is. No. It makes sense why you think that, right? It does make sense. But the reality is that has nothing to do with it. Now, that person doesn't have to be in your life, but when you can release the idea that they need to apologize before you move forward, or they need to take accountability, that's going to hold you back. Okay. And now, I'm not saying you have to rock with these people, but if you are sitting in anger and frustration, you're never going to receive abundance. That's just, you can't want positive while still being like trouble on the inside, which is why it's a process. It's not going to be overnight. Okay. So now I'm going to show you what we're doing. We're going to pour that right in there. Now, my lovely assistant, oh, that's me. I don't really have an assistant. That would be me. I'll show you what I chopped up. I chopped up red peppers, jalapenos, onions, and garlic. That's going to be my toppings, but we are not there yet. So, of course, you already know what's going to go down here. We're going to throw in some garlic, lots of garlic powder. I tell you, no vampires are coming to eat me anytime soon. And if any of the hot ones come, I will stop eating this. But until then, it's not happening. And I'm going to add some oregano. In different countries, that's what they call it, but we call it oregano here. And we are going to throw in some dried basil. And here's my little secret from myself. If you like everything bagel seasoning, you'll like this. I literally just got this off of Amazon because I go through like a ridiculous amount of this. And I'm going to put put it on the wrong side. A good generous portion of this in here because I like everything bagel seasoning. Some people may not. It's really my jam. I'm going to add some salt. Always the pink Himalayan. And I'm going to use witch's brew. Yes. We're going to stir this up. There's going to be something else that we're going to add in here, which really makes it yum. So I'm just like folding this in. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Now, we are going to warm this up, I think. I wasn't going to do it. I was like, I'm not going to warm it up. I'm going to show you why. This pizza blend cheese, we're going to add in the cheese. So the pizza blend cheese that we're going to add in, I don't measure this, right? Because this is for the crust. But I like to put a pretty generous amount on here because I do other topping pizza, like cheese for my pizza other than just mozzarella. So I'm going to stir this up. Now we are going to pop this into the microwave for, let's say, 30 seconds. Let's see how that works. Okay, so it's been 30 seconds. I just wanted the cheese to be a little melty so we can form like a little bit of a dough. Nothing crazy. It's not going to be like regular bread dough because this is gluten-free if you're gluten-free. So this is pretty good for you. Let me see if I want to pop it in. No, we're going to do a little bit longer. We're going to do 30 more seconds. One thing that you're going to notice about me is I don't ever really do 2 recipes the same exact way. It gets boring to me. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to take some cheesecloth. You don't need cheesecloth. Honestly, sometimes I think using a dish towel is even better because it's like more sturdy. And clearly I get really struggle with cheesecloth. But you're going to do this just to drain out the liquids. That's what's going to help it be crispy. Sometimes if you don't drain it out, it becomes soggy on the inside. See how it's still coming out? That's how much liquid is in here between the egg and the cauliflower and just the cheese, honestly. So we're going to drain that really good. All right, so now, did you see how much elbow grease I had to put into that? So now I'm just going to take this out of the cheesecloth. It's not going to necessarily be a dough, and that's okay. Just going to get, but you saw how much liquid comes out of that? It's crazy, right? And then you just want to take it. It's still going to have moisture to it. You want it to. Because again, I'm making more of a pan pizza because I'm going to eat this whole thing all by myself. And you don't want to make the edges too thin. But the thinner the pizza, the crispier it will be. I was almost going to eat that, but I remember there's raw egg in there, and that's not always a good thing to do. So we're going to flatten this into what you see to look as a pizza crust. This will get really yum. And what we're going to do is we are going to bake this for 35 minutes on 425 in the oven. That's Fahrenheit. I'm not sure on Celsius. I think it's like 230. I could be wrong. Correct me, please, if I am. But yeah, we're going to pop that in and we're going to let that bake. The other thing with forgiveness is forgiving yourself, right? Often forgiving other people, while hard in its own right, is even harder sometimes to forgive yourself. But here's what you have to understand. What has happened in the past is not coming back. I mean, that time is gone. There's an acceptability of staying mindful. We talked about mindfulness yesterday. It's here somewhere on the YouTube. But mindfulness allows you to not relive the trauma, not forget it. You don't want to forget it because it helps build character as to who you are, whether it was your choice or not. But mindfulness keeps you from reliving it. When you're mindful and you're staying in the present space, you will know that something existed. It's not avoiding it. It's never avoiding it. It's always facing your feelings, walking through your feelings. But when you can forgive yourself, because remember, you didn't always have the tools that you might have now or that you're learning. So why would you beat yourself up over something that you might not have had the tools for before? So you want to be really, really careful of that. So that's your self-forgiveness, and understand that no matter how much you ruminate on it at 3 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't change the narrative. If it's somebody you can make an apology to, make it one time. Don't be a serial apologizer. And if there's something that you can't do about it and you've learned whatever lesson it is that you were going to learn to go forward and maybe do things differently and in your mind better than before, then that's reward enough for your apology, right? And so you want to work on your self-forgiveness as well as releasing the hold that people have with the power of whatever it is that they did, right? And sometimes it can be super traumatic, and I hear you and I validate it. That's why you want to work through it. Don't avoid it. Don't pretend like it didn't exist. So we are going to come back. Movie magic will look like I didn't go anywhere, but I will be back in about 45 minutes, and hopefully it'll be nice and crispy. And then I'm going to switch it to broil, and then we're going to put the toppings on it, and then we're going to cut it, then we're going to eat it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about forgiveness and how it frees you. So yeah, be right back. So I want to show you what it's going to look like. See? I mean, it's crispy, right? It's still a little soft on the inside, which is fine for me. I don't want it like breaking crispy. I want just a little crunch to it. You can keep it in longer. Ooh, you can keep it in longer If you want it crispier, it's fine. It's not going to hurt it. It'll get brown on top, but it tastes wonderful. And now this was in the fridge, so clearly I make this a lot. So now what you're going to do, this is the easy part. I like to put it in a ladle. I used to work at Little Caesars when I was 13. I'm 51, so it's been around for a minute. I like to do one of these like we did there, and then like kind of put it in here and then mix it around. And then I don't recommend tons of sauce because you don't want it to get like super soggy, but I do recommend enough to make it taste yummy, right? So it's kind of up to you, but just keep in mind it's not like regular dough and there's no gluten and stuff in it. And then, like I said, me, myself, and I cut this up, and I'm going to add I think I need cheese. Or you can just add toppings. You don't need cheese. You don't have to put cheese on here. I want cheese on here. So I'm going to put my 4 cheese blend on here. I was like, why does it look weird? This isn't normally how it is. Then I'm going to add a little bit of mozzarella. I do a 3 cheese pizza. So I'm going to add a little bit of mozzarella on here as well. I like to take it right on out to those corners. Right on out to the edge. And then I like to top it with a little bit of the Parmesan, fresh Parmesan, I should say. Look at that, yum. And you can just leave it that way if you don't want any toppings on it. I, on the other hand, do. So I definitely want all the garlic, right? If nothing else goes on this pizza, it's gonna be a garlic and cheese pizza. Now we're gonna do all of the little chopped up, and the good thing is, I like to chop up a lot of this because I will make this 2 or 3 times a week. And this will hold these, when I chop them up, this will hold a few days, if not a week, in the fridge. So it's already chopped up for the next pizza I make. And I tend to make this a lot because it's, and I'll do like sometimes a double batch and freeze the crust. It is freezable, by the way. And so I think that's it. That's what we're going to put on here. That seems relatively hot. So we are going to show you. Let me show you what we're going to do. See? Yum. And we're going to pop this right in the oven on broil. Cooked it before I put it on the top rack. In broil, I'm going to do about 5-6 minutes in the middle rack, and I'll show you what that looks like. And we'll chop it up and we're going to eat it. We are going to use super fancy plates. Paper plates, baby. That's how I roll, paper plates, because why not? So yes, so going back to this forgiveness thing, I think it's, like I said, there is this ego that is attached to if you let it go, you're being vulnerable. And if you're being vulnerable, you're going to be taken advantage of again. Especially when you're older, it's a little bit different, right? Because the trauma inflicted on you is never your responsibility, but the healing is. Sure, you could not forgive and still live a fruitful life. However, by forgiving, it allows you to be able to receive good relationships, good friendships, abundance, because you're not doing so with this level of fear. And also when you do the forgiveness, and I mean, this is a process. It's not overnight. It's a process. I work with my clients on it. It took me a long while to get there, but now I love it. And I don't hold malice or anything towards any of my abusers. And it's just been very helpful for me. And by releasing it, you don't understand how much you're freeing yourself from the chains that bind you. And the chains that bind you are this energy based upon what is going on with reliving that trauma. And when that happens, that's why mindfulness, double journaling, gratitude journal, data dump journal, mood journal, that's why they're all effective. Oh, I wanted to jump on really quick while we're in the middle of this and remind you that my podcast is free and it's out every Sunday at 7 a.m. There is a brand new Patreon that is a paid addition to it. So it gives like a tip or a tool or an exercise to do for it. That is a paid podcast. So you don't have to do it, but the opportunity to do so is there, but every Sunday. So I'm here for it, right? So let's go in. She is ready. Like I said, you can leave it in longer if you choose. Depends on your oven. You know, I did about 5 or 6 minutes with broil, because broil, like, you don't want to mess around with broil. It'll burn things. Now we're going to use we're going to cut. I do this when it first comes out of the oven because that's what we used to do a million years ago. you could probably even let this rest. But yeah, that's it. I'm so excited. I'm gonna let this cool. I'm gonna bite into her in a little bit, but I just wanna let you know, hey, you know what? You can still eat the way you wanna eat if you need to make changes because of gluten or sugar or anything like that. So you wanna make sure that you're doing whatever your body tells you, but I am not a believer in cutting things out. If I want sugar, I have sugar. I do, however, around allergy season, I do watch my gluten and my sugar, kind of like a keto type lifestyle, but a vegetarian version of it for like a couple weeks just to help balance out my allergies. We're going to plate her up here in a little bit and grub down, but always remember that when you are carrying things that are actions and reactions of other people and you're feeling the burden, it's going to weigh you down. You think you're protecting yourself. Often your times you're imprisoning yourself. So remember, start working on self-love. Self-love automatically will breed forgiveness. And forgiveness doesn't mean that the people have to still be in your space, but I wish all of the people who have done me wrong love and light, because I do not want to wish ill will, because you don't want that to come back to you 3 times fold. So if you're going to make the pizza, let me know down in the comments. Like I said, my times are going to be different than yours, right? Because of my oven. So just, you might have to try it once or twice and be like, oh, that was too soggy, that was too crispy. Sometimes it can be too crispy. Just, so I encourage you to jump in, but definitely do the draining of the cauliflower, because that's what makes it crispy. Okay. So, but again, play with the times. Let me know how you like it. Talk to you soon.